With high school dropout rates hovering around 50% in major U.S. cities, and with the family unit constantly under pressure, how can we help today's young people hold on to their faith and survive in the world as adults on their own? We'll talk about that tonight, so please stay with us. Thank you very much and welcome. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa and welcome to EWTN Live, our chance to bring you guests from all over the world. Before we get to our guest tonight, I want to mention that today is the feast of the Queenship of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This was instituted by Pope Pius XII as a feast to call the Church to dedicate itself and to have each member of the Church make a personal consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This goes along with the feast of Christ the King. On Christ the King, we are meant to make a consecration to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Tonight, though, and on this day, we do so to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So that by that act of consecration, rejecting, as Saint Louis de Montfort said, you reject Satan, renew your baptismal vows and your commitment to Jesus, and dedicate your life to Our Lady so that we might be strong in dealing with the forces that are against God, against His love, and against life in our world. Now, tonight, our guest is working very hard to provide inner city youth with opportunities a lot of them don't currently have: a strong education in the Catholic faith, a high school curriculum that prepares them for success in college, and invaluable early work experience, enabling them to make contacts in the business world before they graduate. So please welcome the president of the Cristo Rey Network of Catholic High Schools, Father John P. Foley. Father Foley.
Thank you, Father Mitch. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for this tremendous opportunity.
It's great to have you here. Now, you and I met way back in 1975 when you were working at the Jesuit High School in Tacna, Peru.
No, in Arequipa.
Arequipa. You were in Arequipa.
That's right.
I've met another one of our friends down in Tacna.
That's right.
But in Arequipa. And I was working there for the summer. And you worked in Peru for how long?
I was in Peru, Father Mitch, for 34 years. And I was a happy camper. I was in Peru in education, working in Jesuit schools throughout the country, in different parts of the country. And I thought I was going to leave my bones there.
Yeah.
Now, while I was there...
What didn't they like about your bones that they wouldn't want you to leave them there?
They said, you get those bones back up here. While I was there, I was a huge fan of a tremendous system of schools for needy kids throughout Peru and throughout Latin America. It's called Fe y Alegría, Faith and Justice schools. They are schools all for the poor, run by the church, and they have three characteristics. One, the parents build and maintain the school. The religious sponsor obtains the construction materials and the materials that the school needs, the textbooks and things like that. And the state pays the salaries of the teachers. So that was always a frustrated dream of mine, of all of ours. We loved Fe y Alegría, but we said this would never work in the United States because the United States government would never be up to paying salaries for people who taught in a faith-based school.
As a matter of fact, I recall going to El Agustino in Lima, Peru area.
That's right.
Where we had one of our Fe y Alegría. It means faith and joy, right?
Faith and joy, right.
Faith and joy schools. And, that was a wonderful combination of having, Jesuits get it started, but the people,
Absolutely.
who were very poor.
Exactly.
And they were very poor. Our poor people were like middle class in that society.
That's right.
And but they worked hard.
Fe y Alegría has a motto: where the asphalt ends, Fe y Alegría begins. So it's for when the asphalt runs out. It's for beyond the asphalt.
Which means sort of where there's no more roads, and people are just starting up these new towns.
Right, exactly.
So you thought having that kind of system wouldn't work, and there are problems because our government won't pay for the wages of Catholic school students or teachers. So what did you do?
Well, so let's fast forward a little bit. So that was a frustration that I was living with. All of us were living with, that this was never going to work in the United States. So with that, after 34 years in Peru, the provincial in Chicago, our boss, so to speak, asked me if I would consider coming back to, he said he wanted to do something educational for the Hispanic community in Chicago.
Which provincial was that?
Brad Schaefer.
Well,
Brad Schaefer.
Yes.
To Brad be the glory, because I said to him later, I said, Brad, you were pretty gutsy, because if this thing fell on its face, I could just go back to Peru. Nobody would even know what I'd been doing. But you'd look pretty silly because you're the one that gave the go-ahead. So would I come back, and he didn't know what he wanted to do, but he wanted to do something educational. So the decision was
especially in the Hispanic.
That's right.
And some of the poor areas.
Well, he started off with Hispanic. It was a service to the Hispanic community in Chicago, because they're all Catholic anyway. So he said, we owe them something. Sure. We should be serving them.
Right.
So I went back, and there was a committee of us given the job to form this new school. While all the other religious groups, not all, but a good number of religious high schools were moving out of the center city, we were moving in.
Yep.
So we were moving in, and we were forming this school. And one day Bradley said to us, "Well, have you figured out how you're going to pay for this?" And of course, that was the question. And
he had not come up with that either.
No, definitely not. Thank you. But to my chagrin, we had to say, no, we really haven't figured. He said, well, you better get on that one. So we didn't know what to do. But we did know somebody who we knew was a brilliant, original, out-of-the-box thinker. Just a young man in Chicago who was very creative in his way of thinking.
And kind of a planner type.
Yes, exactly. So we said let's hire him as a consultant. So we did, and we said give us some ideas on how we can pay for a school in a place where the resources aren't available. Huh. How about that for a problem? So he took it and went back and thought about it for a couple of weeks, and he came back and he said, what if every student had a job? And so he didn't know what a grace-filled moment that was, nor did we. But that was his creation. So it wasn't mine, it wasn't Bradley's, it wasn't the Society of Jesus. It was this young man who was who continues to be in Chicago and serving just all sorts of creative projects. So we took that idea and ran with it. Our schools then, our first school became a school and a temporary employment agency. The people who attend our school are both our students and our employees. We take care of all the paperwork. We're a legitimate business. We're a business and a school. And so we got it going, and we got it up and running. And one day, the principal and I looked at each other and said, this is working really well. Maybe we could do this someplace else. So that's...
Well, before we go to the spread of it, I'd like to help people to understand a little bit more of what happens. Okay. So that, at this first school, what they do is they're in school, right. they're registered, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's a 4-year high school.
That's right.
All right.
Right.
But
they have to have finished grade school.
Right. But they all have jobs. Now, are these jobs something they do after school hours?
No. The Monday morning, everybody comes to school. 100% of the student body comes, as they do every morning.
Right.
This repeats itself every day. 100% of the students come to school. 25% don't enter the building. Every day of the school year, 25% of the students get on buses or vans or whatever it is that the school provides, and we go and drop them off at the jobs that we have procured through our work-study program.
So now the students then don't drive their own cars.
No, well, they don't have them to begin with.
That's
right.
Exactly.
Right.
So the school also provides transportation
Yes.
to get to the job.
And we pick them up too at the end of the day. So we are on the company's schedule. If they open the doors at 8:30, we're there at 8:30. If they open the doors at 9, we're there at 9. And if people go home at 5, we're our employee, the person who works for us, comes home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
So
Matter of fact, we have one of these Cristo Rey schools here in Birmingham, and some of them work right here at EWTN. We are one of the sponsors
I love it.
that employ them.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And the sponsors, this thing is working, Father Mitch. This thing is working. That's the biggest surprise to all of us. Mm-hmm. I was the first day of school, nobody was more nervous than me. And so to send these kids off to work on their first day on the job, I thought, at 10:15, they're going to be calling me and saying, "Come and pick these kids up. I don't know what we're going to do with them here." And at around that same time, the person in charge of the program came into my office and said, "You know what? They have been calling me, and they've been thanking me for sending these kids to work in their offices. They bring a vital, young spirit, excitement, goodwill. They don't come in with bad habits. They're not talking on the telephone. They're not sending out their resume to other people." So it's an ingenious system.
So it ends up then being a positive experience for the student and for the company.
And for everybody, for society. We never knew that. We did not know what an impact the program was going to have on the students. It's what they most like about the school. If you ask any of our students throughout the whole network of schools, what do you like best about Cristo Rey? They'll say the job.
And see, and all you were trying to do is obey Father Brad Schaefer about funding the school.
Right, pay the bills.
Just again, so there's clarity. Do the students get them pay themselves?
No.
So where does the money go?
The money goes right to the school. The students sign over at the beginning of the school year all the money that they make. And I was we were presenting this idea once to a new audience where we were thinking of starting a school. And a kid, so we told them that this is what happened. This kids never see the money. And a young person out in the audience, who obviously wasn't fit for a Cristo Rey school, raised his hand and said, "You mean to tell me you work 5 days a month and you don't ever see any money? Or you don't ever get anything out of it?" And the young man on the stage said, "What do you mean I don't get anything out of it? I get an education." He answered him way better than I could have.
So then that money that they actually earn from the company goes to the school.
Correct.
And that's how it pays for their tuition.
That's correct. And it's usually it's an average of $6,500. Mm-hmm. So that's a hefty piece of change entering the school.
And what percentage of tuition does that cover overall?
Hopefully it covers, our goal is that it should cover around 70% of the operating expenses. The original school in Chicago has reached that goal. Mm-hmm. It is covering that. So 70% of their operating expenses are covered by the fact that the students go out to work every day. Mm-hmm. The rest is made. We charge a small tuition depending on the person's ability to pay.
Sure.
So, but we make maybe 10% of the budget by what we charge. I don't even like to use the word tuition because it gets confusing. But what the families give to the school covers about 10% of the tuition of the cost of the budget. And then then some of our schools have a small endowment, but then we fundraise for the rest. So that's we've nailed it. We've brought it down to 20%, having to fundraise for 20%. Even that's too high. We don't want to do that for that much. We want to change the model where every year you don't have to keep going out and getting money from the same people to pay for school. It's a new funding model for private education.
And one of the things that people, of course, are going to be interested in is, what is the retention rate of the students? I mean, do they look at this and say, "Get me out of here, I don't like working for my tuition"? Or do they stay and they graduate? What's the retention rate of students?
You know what? Retention rate is a oft-used phrase, and it depends on what you mean.
Okay.
For us, retention rate, and I can't give you an answer to that because I don't know yet, because we're relatively new.
Right.
But retention rate for us, we have defined it as the students who begin freshman year. How many of those finish senior year in that same school.
Right.
You know what? I would guess 90%.
As compared to averages in the urban schools
Right.
that are 50%.
Somebody from the Chicago public school system said, "You've got the students hooked." He said, "A student does bad in a Chicago public school and he drops out." He said, "You've got them hooked because they love the job. They come back because they're going to make it, because they love the idea of working in what used to be called the Sears Tower, where some of our offices are." Imagine this kid that's never been downtown before. Some of our students we're 12 minutes from downtown. Some of our students have never seen Lake Michigan. So all our students have documents, by the way, because they work.
Right.
So they come down, the student gets off at the Willis Tower, it's called now, goes up to the 60th floor, goes into this glass enclosed office, and "Good morning, Luis, here's what we're going to do today." Well, Luis just died and went to heaven. He never even suspected that he had a future in a place like that.
Right.
So,
right.
He loves it. He loves it. And all of a sudden, it opens up a whole world for him. So that's what I mean when I say we had no idea of the educational impact of this program. We thought it was going to pay the bills.
Well, see, one of the things that, that strikes me about the model is that the students can see a connection
Exactly.
between
Exactly.
what they're learning in school and what happens at work.
That's
that it's
exactly
not
right.
divorced.
That's right.
And then that motivates them to study as well.
That's right. They see a reason for studying geometry. They see that there's a Mr. Garcia that works in this office, and I think I know some of his relatives, and if he can make it, why can't I? Mm-hmm. So it's just filled with motivation. It's filled with hope. I think that's the biggest thing we deliver to our students. We show them that there is hope. There is a way to make it.
Yep.
And there's a future.
Yep.
Somebody told us at the beginning, don't talk to these kids about the future because they don't believe in the future. There is no future for them. Everything, all their friends, they were too used to having their friends die or go to jail. That person was totally wrong. That's the greatest gift we give them. Without knowing it, we didn't know it, but that's the impact of this program.
Well, see, one of the things that I also know is that from those students who graduate the Cristo Rey schools, 100% of them get into college.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Get into college. They don't necessarily go to college, but part of our curriculum is applying to college and getting accepted. And we make a big deal. Some of our schools have signing days, and you can imagine the impact that has on the student body. When the seniors sit down and they declare what school they're going to go to. So, and it's really a motivational, very sad, in a sense of a very solemn and very emotional moment. So yes, 88% of our students go to college, not enroll. They go to college the first year. In other words, they don't make it. They don't get accepted. 100% get accepted. 88%. Now this I do know.
Actually go.
Yes. And of those, another 88% stays on for second year. Mm-hmm. So they're having tremendous. There's something about the work study program that teaches the kids how to overcome problems and how to stick it out, and how to ask questions and what to do about it.
And I worked in very close to the same area where the original Cristo Rey schools. I mean, my first assignment as a novice was over at Holy Family Parish.
Sure.
And there was one kid who I remember went to some college. No, two kids. One actually went all the way to get a higher degree. But now I remember two kids that went to college. Out of all these kids, because
right.
it didn't register as a possibility except for a couple who were really good students, mm-hmm. but so many, it didn't.
Right.
It didn't. And, we have this situation of a real breakdown of so many things, a family breakdown, the high incidence of unwed motherhood and all that, and that just takes away hope,
right?
For the future.
Right.
This offers great hope.
We now we have colleges and universities coming to us and partnering with us. They're telling us we want your students. Isn't that tremendous?
It is.
And
it is.
So they say, you know, we would be false to our philosophy if we weren't educating kids from across the socioeconomic spectrum. That to be a real university, we need kids that are prepared and kids who don't have the resources that other kids have.
And, you know, just so that people understand that, the average income of the families of the Cristo Rey students is about $35,000.
That's correct.
You know, it's not very much.
No, we have a cap. Our schools are by definition for kids for whom there would be no other opportunity to go to a college prep private school. Right. So we have a cap, but there's a saying among ourselves that if you can afford to come here, then you can't come. Because we have to turn some kids away. That doesn't happen a lot because our schools are basically in neighborhoods where there just isn't that kind of money.
Right.
So it's what we are doing. What we are doing is we are rescuing just slews of talent that were being unattended. So people are born with all sorts of gifts.
Exactly.
They never have a chance to realize it. They never have a chance to develop them. In fact, they're put down.
Yep.
And one of our first jobs was to create a culture where it was a cool thing to get an A in mathematics.
See, that's also become in some parts of the country, in some of the African American and Hispanic neighborhoods, that going to college is a white thing or a gringo thing. So we don't do that.
That's right.
And, you know, to break through that mentality, it's that hopeless mentality that people say, well, we don't do that because that's what other people do. But it is what everybody can do.
And it's becoming more and more necessary. Today, the statistics show that without a college education, your chances for success are, well, I mean, they're cut in four. They're about a fourth as high.
It's not only, you know, your ability to get a job, but even having the skills to manage society, to raise a family, to be out there to buy a house, and all those things are increased if you go to college.
Right.
You know,
statistics say so.
The longer you're in school, the more likely your marriage is going to last. And these are just regular statistics. And we're making more than just job acquisition.
Oh, yeah.
It's the total person.
We're making people. That's right. So,
one of the things that you were starting to say before we wanted to again understand the inner workings of the original school stuff, it has been spreading all over the country.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
So one day we said, if we did this here and it's working so well, why can't we do it other places? So that was in the year 2000. So in 12 years, we have begun 24 more schools. Right now, we are up to 25 schools, and they go from New York, Boston, outside of Boston. You know, there's
new one in Philadelphia.
There's new one in Philadelphia. Just opened.
Some of the Jesuits in Houston have one.
Right.
I talked to the priest that was going to start the one in Houston. He was just so excited.
Right. Well, he's on
about
fire.
He's on
fire. They're going wild. And we have schools in Los Angeles. We have schools in San Francisco, Sacramento, Portland, Oregon. 25 schools throughout the country, and we are going for 50. We want this. We just want to keep building these schools. We hope that in about 10 more years we'll have 25,000 kids going to our schools. This year, there's a little bit over 7,000 kids going to our schools.
Yes.
And those 7,000 kids, last year they weren't 7,000. Last year they were about 6,800. And they earned last year $35 million for their own education. Now that's a whole new source of income for private college prep schools.
Yep.
So they're doing it, and it's amazing. And they're loving it. They love it. They love to come to school.
See, that's one of the very exciting things that I've seen. And again, we have some of the Cristo Rey students working around here. I see them around the network and such. And I've gone over to some events that about Cristo Rey here in Birmingham. So it's very exciting to see.
That's wonderful. Well, it's happening, and it's happening. We've gotten requests from different parts of the world. What happens when a group calls us and says we'd like to know about the possibility of beginning a school in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Well, we say form a group and do a feasibility study, because all our schools do a feasibility study to see if it's feasible. They have to show that there's a demand, there's going to be jobs, there's going to be a building, there's going to be a religious sponsor. They have a number of things they have to show with statistics. So we get calls. We did one feasibility study in Toronto. That was our first, in fact, our only international attempt. Mm-hmm. And the feasibility study showed that it wasn't feasible. Interesting. Well, that's great. We saved somebody a lot of effort and a lot of trouble.
Right.
It wasn't going to work because a whole different philosophy of how the state helps education in Canada, and so that it just doesn't fit. Didn't fit in our culture.
But see, one other thing that I want to get across too is what an opportunity it is for so many of our viewers who are in business, that if you know of a Cristo Rey school in your area, or if you hear that one is about to open, seek it out.
Way to go, exactly.
Go with your business.
That's right.
And look for the Cristo Rey school, because those kids will be an asset to your company.
Absolutely.
And you will be an asset to the growth of their maturity and their faith.
Exactly. It's to the school's vital interest that the student do a good job. If there's any hint that they're falling down on some detail, either they'll change the student and send somebody else there, and they'll bring that one back and retrain him or her, or they'll just work with the student until the problem is overcome.
Yeah.
So it's a good investment. We guarantee our kids. We guarantee somebody at that job, and can we use that?
Well, we got that graphic. Do we have that graphic up there about the class schedule? It's got all the letters on it. We'll see if my producer can get that on the screen there.
Okay, let me just explain it. It's as if we had four schools or four
it's
schools
up there now
under the roof. So
the first letters are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Correct. Right.
And then on Monday you have A, B, C, and D
Leave
class.
Monday. That's the most confusing one. Tuesday, all the A's work every Tuesday. So all the A's work every Tuesday, and they study together on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and almost every Monday. But the first Monday of the week, the A's also work. So they work 5 days a month.
Okay.
Then on Wednesdays, the B's all work, and they study together on Tuesday. They study together on Thursday, Friday, almost every Monday and Tuesday.
Right.
So they don't miss class. They don't miss class, et cetera, et cetera.
On Tuesday or Thursday, the C's go to work.
Right.
And on Friday, the D class goes to work.
Right.
So you divide up in these four classes, A, B, C, and D,
mm-hmm.
and they each have a day of the week that they go and they just do their work.
That's right.
That's their job.
They come to school in the morning, and we take them to work.
Yep.
And then we pick them up at the end of the day.
And again, this is a great way to communicate the values of business and faith and education all in one.
It's a tremendous possibility.
Yep.
We're just finding it's endless. The way you can teach people about influence the business world and influence the people that are going into the business world. Yep. And so we're very excited about that. Our schools are not just our schools are all Catholic schools, but they're not just for Catholics.
So there are many non-Catholics
correct.
in those schools.
Yeah, 60% of our students are Catholic, 40% are not.
Yeah.
So everybody, they know that when they come in, they know they're going to study religion. They know they're going to go to mass. They know they're going to pray every now and then. At least they're going to be present. But there's no pressure, obviously.
You don't make them convert,
No,
but you offer that this is part of the curriculum. Right. You just go along with the program.
Right.
I got to go along with the program too, because we are out of time for this segment. But we are going to be back in just about 2 minutes, and we want to have your phone calls and your comments. So please stay with us. Thank you, and welcome back. First of all, I'd like to welcome any and all of you who have a chance to come down here to Birmingham to please join us. If you can make a pilgrimage and be part of our audience, we would love it. If you could contact our pilgrimage department to let them know you're coming, you can call them at 205-271-2966. Or you can also go to www.ewtn.com, and they will give you information about mass schedules, program schedules, tours of the network, places where you can stay in the area, and restaurants you can eat. I didn't get a chance to show you, Father John, some of the good places around here have religiously themed restaurants.
Really?
Oh yeah, we got Hamburger Heaven. All the cattle are dead. We'd love to have you come and join us. Please do. And also, before we go to our questions, we want to make sure you tune into EWTN tomorrow night, Thursday night, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to watch the world over. Because Raymond Arroyo will sit down with the Republican presidential candidate, Mitt Romney, to talk about faith and religious freedom issues. So joining us now on the phone is EWTN's news director and the host of The World Over, Raymond Arroyo. Raymond?
How you doing, Father Mitch?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Hey, look, I'm delighted to finally do an interview where I can wear my pajamas. Nobody sees me. This is great.
That's not your pajamas you usually wear on... No, World Over? No.
No, those aren't my pajamas.
That's your
As
Sunday
Mitt
go to
Romney
meeting
pointed out in
clothes.
the interview, he said he made fun of my tie, so you'll see that.
All right.
But,
Now-
we've made a lot of news, Father, even before the interview airs. The AP just released a story, so a lot of people will be reading it in their papers tomorrow.
Okay.
Mitt Romney announces on the show tomorrow that he is having Cardinal Dolan do the final benediction of the GOP convention.
Okay.
So the night he accepts the nomination next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, Cardinal Dolan will be the final, the final person you see.
Sure.
And the notion there is he's signaling, I think, to Catholic voters that he takes their concerns seriously, and certainly this cause of religious liberty that Cardinal Dolan so embodied for the last year or so. It's a very interesting symbolic invitation. So that's a part of the interview, and there's much more that he reveals in the course of the conversation.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Mitch, and I hope you all will watch tomorrow night. Thanks.
Yep,
Bye now.
God willing. All right, now let's go to some questions. We're going to start off with a question from our studio audience. Young lady, where are you from?
I am from Birmingham, Alabama.
And where do you go to school?
Holy Family Cristo High School.
There you go, see? So we have somebody from Cristo Rey School. What is your experience of being there?
Well, my freshman year, I'm not going to lie, I was scared. Being a 14-year-old, going to a corporate office with a lot of adults is intimidating. But when I finally got on a job at Coca-Cola Bottling Company, I learned that it's not as intimidating as you think. They bring you in, you learn a lot, and it helps you out in your future.
Now, where are you working this year?
I work at Coca-Cola this year.
So they've kept you on.
They kept me since my freshman year. They've
That's a
asked
good
me to
sign.
come back.
And I also say you've kept them on, so they must be all right too.
Yes.
Good. Great. Do you have any other comments about your school? The classes and all?
Well,
Because
My
you're a
cla-
junior now, right?
I am a junior now, and my classes are based on college. They prepare us for college. So right now I'm taking AP classes, and my counselor has sent in my name. She sent in the top 10 sophomores to different small schools around the U.S. And I've gotten several letters from small schools in Georgia, Kentucky, letting me know that they know my name and that come visit us anytime. We're lucky to have you. We know your name, we know your information. Your senior year, we're going to send you applications. So the school not only prepares you for work, but it prepares you for college. It helps, it prepares our future.
Well, Kayla, I'm going to give you some advice that I got from the most famous professor I ever had. He was a very well-known engineer. And he said that the best educations come out of small schools because you get to know the professors. And so that sounds like a great future ahead of you there. So God bless you and thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to another. We have a caller waiting. Hello, Walter. Walter, are you there?
Yes, Father. God bless you. And Father Foley, and God bless you who comes in the name of the Lord. Father
you,
Foley,
Walter.
I'm interested in the teachers that you use. Do you use religious teachers or lay teachers or both? And
Both.
I hope that we have a lot of vocations coming out of these schools.
Okay.
Do you use lay people or religious or both?
Both.
Both.
We use both, right? Would that there were that many. Well, no, the lay teachers do. We use both, and we love it. And I couldn't be more in agreement, Walter. I hope that we have vocations coming out of these schools too. That certainly is a possibility. And stay tuned. We hope that that they pick up the slack in vocations in our church.
Yep. You know, that's, I mean, with them being so new,
Yeah.
you know, there hasn't been much time
Right.
that they would have vocations coming
Exactly.
yet, but that may be down the road.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Walter. We have another question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
I'm from Cosville, Tennessee.
Great. That's a strong Tennessee accent.
Okay, I have two questions for you. The first question is, what is the requirement for the kids to get into the program? And the second question is, when they finish to go to the college, who pay for the tuition?
Well, that's a very good question.
All right, so let's take the first one.
They have to have graduated from grade school. They don't have to be A students. They can be B or C students. They have to have letters of recommendation, somebody who can vouch for their good character and the fact that they are serious about their request. They have to be 14 years of age because they have to work, and the laws for the labor laws require that the student be 14 years of age. That's almost never a problem.
Yes.
Almost all the students that we get for freshman year are 14 years of age, and they have to have documents, papers, to show that they're citizens of the United States.
Even if they're not citizens, they have to be at least legally here.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
Because they can't work.
You're right.
If they don't have papers showing that
can't
they're here
work.
legally,
That's
they can't
right.
work.
That's correct. So that's what they have to get in. And you don't have to be a genius. You have to want it badly. You have to want it badly. If you want it badly enough, frankly, the school can probably take care of the rest. But there's got to be that desire. We don't have entrance exams. We do have placement exams often enough. Not every school is exactly the same, but often enough there are no entrance exams. Often enough there are placement exams to figure out where the student stands,
Right.
so we can put them in the best group. But so that's about all they need.
Now, the other question she asked, how do they pay for college tuition if they get accepted in college?
Right.
As 100% of them do get accepted,
Right.
how do they pay for it when the
Well,
families are not rich?
That is a key question, and so far, there have been enough scholarships around that the great majority of our kids get offers, and they may get accepted to a school, and they have to say, "I can't go because you can't give me enough scholarship break."
Right.
So that's a problem. We're coming to the point where we're going to have 1,500 kids graduating every year. 1,500 kids going into the college, and that is a huge problem. We're working on that. Lots of great ideas, but
You have to get Father Brad Schaefer back on your case to work it out.
That's right. That's right. But so far so good, but we see a huge red flag down the line for that.
Yep. All right.
How do these kids going to pay their tuition in college?
And you know, this is also where perhaps some of the members of the minority groups in our country who are already in business and are looking toward their own future of bringing, you know, maybe establishing scholarships for other minority students.
That's right.
And is with maybe an idea that you can do this and come work for us.
There's a very creative solution that one college or one university has come up with. I'm not going to mention the name of it, but they said we want Cristo Rey graduates, but we don't have enough scholarship money. So they have set up a program where the kids from Cristo Rey schools who come to that university can work. In other words, they set up a work program for those young people to work and help pay some of their tuition.
And you know, another means, I certainly saw this with one of my roommates in graduate school. He was in medical school, and he couldn't afford medical school at Vanderbilt, but he was, you know, joined the military. They paid for his tuition, and then he served a year in the Air Force as a surgeon for every year they paid his tuition. Oftentimes that helps.
You're not kidding. No, those are I've had this conversation in the last month. I've had this conversation 5 times.
Yep.
And creative solutions.
Yep.
Creative solutions.
We have another caller on the line. Hello, Terry. Terry, you there?
Yes, John.
Hi. Where are you from?
John, Terry Castro, San Diego.
Oh my gosh, Terry, how are you?
Wonderful, and you?
I'm doing great. Wonderful. Terry's a good friend of Cristo Rey in San Diego.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you know, you guys are breaking up. Your Father Mitch and yourself a little bit, but
you're coming in fine, Terry.
Oh, good. Well, I was trying to say, John, how pleased I am to see you here because I watch EWTN frequently.
Good.
And throughout the day, and wonderful programming. And Raymond is his last few presentations, we told him that we were going to meet with Romney, which we've done several times. We were going to get him on that show. And I'm glad that's coming about.
That's great, Terry.
We put the full board press on him about 2 weeks ago in La Jolla, and so I'm glad that he's showing up.
Beautiful.
But we think the schools are just the greatest thing going. We have for a number of years, and our dream to put one in San Diego has never left us. So I would encourage your listening audience to listen up and talk about how they could build a school in their own area throughout the United States.
I love it. Thank you, Terry. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Say hello to Barbara.
All right, let's have a question from our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
I was born in the Caribbean.
Oh, yes.
I've retired in Quaysville, Tennessee.
Okay, so you're also in Tennessee.
Via 44 years
great,
in New York.
Great.
Father, you mentioned one specific requirement for the candidate is to have a religious sponsor. I'd like to know how they work.
For the school to have a religious sponsor.
So the religious sponsor is for the whole school. So let's explain that a little bit. When you say a religious sponsor, what do they do exactly?
Thank you for clarifying that. It's basically a religious order or religious, whether it's brothers or priests or nuns, that guarantee the Catholicity of the school.
Okay.
You need that to guarantee the Catholicity of the school.
Sure.
They're on board. They know what's being taught in religion class. They know how it's being taught. They pray with the kids. So that's what we mean by religious sponsorship.
All right. And so here in Birmingham, it's not Jesuits.
The Jesuits are like secondary sponsors. They do what we call endorsing the school.
Right.
But the ones who sponsor the school are the Passionists.
Right. So the Passionist Fathers are sponsoring the school here.
Correct.
The Jesuits, endorse the school as we do with other schools.
Correct.
But sometimes Jesuits actually run the schools.
Actually sponsor them. There's a difference between sponsoring and endorsing.
Okay.
Sponsoring usually means personnel and maybe money, financial responsibility with the school, whereas endorsing is pretty much just they give their name and they maybe sit on the board. but that's a little bit further away. But the Passions run the school here in Birmingham.
Right, right. Okay. We have another question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida. Great. And by the way, we want to pray for that part of the country because it looks like there's a hurricane heading that way.
We're in the
So
cone of uncertainty, as
Yeah,
they
yeah,
say.
right. So want to everybody keep prayers.
Yeah, no,
Right,
today.
but let's keep praying for Miami and that whole area of Florida so that people don't get hurt.
Yeah.
So what is your question?
I was listening to the conversation, and it got me thinking, is this a solution maybe to inner city schools, Catholic schools in older cities that maybe have had to close some of their schools because of lack of enrollment? And this type of partnership, could that maybe reinvigorate the inner city schools?
You know,
Very good question.
Thank you very much. We've that has been the case in some of those 25 schools. I think maybe 3 or 4. That's what happened. We call them conversion schools. Schools that were already up and running, and then they convert to the Cristo Rey model. And we found that our advice has always been close for a year, and then begin again. Break the culture that's present in that school, because this isn't just another Catholic school. There's a whole other culture that goes with it. For instance, if you're a basketball powerhouse, and there's the big the alumni and the people that send their kids to the school, the rah-rah basketball team. Well, if your center has a game on a day when the center is working, well, he goes to work. But they don't play basketball that day, and so we advise schools. In fact, I'm not sure we would even do it. It's much better. People have come back to us and said, you told us to close. We should have done that.
Yep.
We should have done that.
And by culture, you're not talking about whether it's a minority population.
No.
You mean the way that
The way of
people
thinking.
act in the school.
Right. The ambience in which they're working, the values that are in play. That's right, exactly.
Yeah, because it's very important to to understand that you have say a corporate culture at a business, but you also have a culture at a school, certain traditions of school colors, the way teachers grade, and all that.
Sure.
That needs to be stopped. And then start over again
Because
with
it's
the
a whole
Cristo Rey
different.
model.
So there are different values in play.
Yep.
Right.
It's a different way to do it.
Uh-huh.
So that's a very important thing. We have another caller. Is it Elena?
Yes. Hi, Father Mitch.
Hi. How are you? Where are you
I'm
calling
fine,
from?
thank you. And hello, Father John Foley.
Hi, Elena.
Hi.
Where are you from?
My question is how to connect our 8th graders in my Harlem, New York City public school to have this as an alternative, and asking for both of your prayers in doing so.
Wonderful. We have a school in Harlem.
PS 129.
No.
PS MS 129. John H. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting. John H. It's a college prep, and Miss Pierre, Adelphius Pierre, is our principal.
Okay.
I don't want to speak too much for her, but I'm a practicing Catholic, and there are a lot of wonderfully faith-based teachers in that school who are trying very hard, who we really care about our children, and we really want to have them placed from 8th grade into good futures and high school environments.
Of course.
Well, see, so there is already a Cristo Rey school in Harlem.
That's correct.
And there's also one in Brooklyn.
That's right.
Right.
Harlem is 112 East 106th Street. So drop in there. Go visit it. Take your child to visit the school. And we have one in Brooklyn too. I don't have the address here present, but let's see here.
It's called Cristo Rey Brooklyn, and
That's
somebody
correct.
who lives in Brooklyn can look it up. But this is not so that she's not confused. The Cristo Rey school is not a public school; it's a Catholic school.
Private, totally private.
Totally private.
Right.
And there is one, and her 8th graders can apply.
Absolutely.
To go there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. So that's a good thing. Now, we have another question from our studio audience. Father, where are you from?
I am from Birmingham, Alabama.
Good to have you, Father Alex. Good to see you here.
Likewise, and John, it's great to have you back in the city.
Thank you very much.
I really have a comment I wanted to make. First of all, we are a conversion school. The Passionists are the initial sponsor of our
And
school.
you are a Passionist father yourself.
I am. There's four
Right.
of us here in Birmingham.
Right.
But here's my comment. Cristo Rey is like a new charism in the church. Here in Birmingham, 4 out of 100 people are Roman Catholic. So it's actually it's a mission diocese. Canonically, we are a mission diocese.
Sure.
And this school has made an impact in this city because the Catholic Church is willing to do this at great sacrifice to enable youngsters like Kayla to get through high school and through college.
Yep.
So, and I really believe it's a contemporary charism of the Catholic Church that this kind of education is available through the service that the Catholic Church provides.
Now, are you actually working in the Cristo Rey School here in Birmingham?
Yes, my role as president, we were a conversion school. We were the 3rd conversion school back in 2007. Our school was failing because families could no longer afford the tuition at Holy Family in Ensley. And so Sister Leanne Welch, the superintendent of the schools, made an application to the Cristo Rey Network. And in 2005 December, remember that day, it was very cold, we were approved to begin our preparation for the school. It took us 18 months to get off the ground.
Right. But now it's going well. How many students do you have?
We're in our 5th year. We have 230 students and growing. We have 80 freshmen this year, the largest freshman class yet in the history of our school. And we are 40 students away from full employment.
Oh, that's great. Great.
And we've had 2 vocations.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
That's wonderful. So it is actually already making an impact as far as vocations go. Yep. See, I don't think we had those statistics.
No, we did not. I didn't know that. That's wonderful news. That's great.
Well, thank you very much, Father Alex. Yeah, it's it's one of those things that I certainly I work in a parish on weekends when I'm not traveling, and I've certainly encouraged a number of our businessmen at our parish to St. Elias to be involved in getting some of these students in.
Sure.
It's a very positive experience for the kids, as we've said.
Well, I would invite people to go to our website.
Let me read that off for them, okay? It's there's a Cristo Rey Network website, and it is www.CristoRey Network.
No H.
Now, Cristo is CRISTOREY Network. .org. All right. There's also a phone number. The phone number is 312-784-7200. Now, by the way, the Cristo Rey, does that not come from Blessed Miguel Pro? Now, Viva Cristo Rey.
What? It could. It can come from. I think more powerful than the fact that it just is.
Because it means Christ the King.
Right, Christ the King. That's important. It's not the Latin, it's the Spanish, and it means Christ the King. And they say that when Miguel Pro, Blessed Miguel Pro, a Mexican Jesuit who died, was executed in 1927, that when his last words were, "Long live Viva Cristo Rey," long live Christ the King. So the name Cristo Rey comes from the fact that our first school was called Cristo Rey, when we never had any intention of multiplying or replicating the model. But
there it is.
There it is, and it's so much about the kingdom of God, and it's so much about tackling these problems and these obstacles that exist in our world today, as you referred to in your introduction.
And doing something about it.
Right. The kingdom of God, exactly, making the world a better place.
Well, thank you very much for being with us tonight, and we've run out of time. I ask you if you would join me in giving a blessing to our audience. May Almighty God bless you and keep you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We can bring you this exciting news about Catholic schools flourishing among those who are not so wealthy and among some of our minority groups, and are really bringing hope to people. But we can do that because this network is brought to you by you. You make us possible. We can bring Father Foley and all the other guests here because of your support. So please keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill. And we will be able to pay all of our bills too. Thank you.